Good evening and welcome to Stave 3. Now, let me know if I'm coming through. I couldn't hear my music in my monitor, so I want to make sure that I am actually coming through. I hope I see it. I see it, but I didn't hear it. Cool. Okay. Did you hear the music or did you not hear the music? Just a question. And I think okay, so yes, I noticed that typo, but it was too late to change it. So it's the 11th. Um, okay, let's see. We have 10 out of 10 audio. Fantastic. All right. You can't ask for better than that. Okay, wow. Everybody, hello, everybody. It's good to see everybody. Let's start at the top. We've got Kyle. Hello, Kyle. Hey, Rob. The Cookbook Nook. I like that. That's good. I'm gonna steal that. Hey, it's good to see you, Jen. Nice to see you. And you weren't here last week. No, this is your first week. It's good to see you. Let's see. And Zach and Liz are here tonight. And Caitlin's back tonight. A sax playing. We wish you a Merry Christmas. That's correct. That is exactly what you should have heard. So fortunately, all is going well. Tonight I'm wearing my shirt. Marley was dead to begin with. Ordered this especially last year for this, and I only just now am remembering to wear it. Besides, I had on like this other shirt that was not going well with the hat today, so I was like, I figured I would get into something a little more festive. So, well, kind of festive. Anyway, let's see. Well, gosh, it's good to see everybody. So before we get too lost here, and this is day 1 and 2, and we're getting ready to start Stave 3. So let me get some names in here before we lose them all. I mean, we're not gonna lose them. I can scroll back. It's just right now they're on the screen. Just gonna one moment. Sitting here at Green Dragon Studios, waiting for the storm to hit tonight. About midnight, supposed to roll in, and 2 to 4 inches of snow, which is fine. I like snow. Snow's great, but I'm really hoping that tomorrow some yahoo doesn't drive into a pole and knock out my internet at work. Really ruin my Friday. Just saying. All right, so Kyle, let's get you on here. You're in. We've got, let's see. There we go. And who's after that? It was Jen. And then we've got Zach. And don't you put that evil on us, Ricky Bobby. Exactly. I don't want it. All right, then we got Caitlin. All right. That is everybody for the moment. I'm sure some other folks will come along. Now tonight is is Stave 3, which is the longest of the staves. Stave 4 is a little bit shorter, and then Stave 5 is really, really short. So this is going to be our longest read. Oh, hello! It is it is Michael Kingery 9831. Nice to see you, Michael Kingery 9831. All right. And you go. You have arrived. It's about time to daggone it. So as I was saying, yes, Stave 3 is a fairly long one. but I think it's a good one. It's a Christmas present, as you may have guessed if you haven't been a party to this before. Tonight, in this fancy dinosaur Christmas cup mug, I have whipped up a little bit of negus. Now, if you were listening to the last stave, then you heard it mentioned. You heard negus mentioned, and what it really is it is an invention of the mid 1700s by what's his name? Some British military guy who was a colonel. Colonel Negus was his last name, so it is named after him. And it was, it's basically a port wine punch with like nutmeg and cinnamon and lime or lemon and orange zest and lemon and orange juice. It's basically a citrus port punch, and water as well. Anyway, just a nice mulled wine punch, very tasty, and it was and it's one of the drinks that's mentioned in the second stave. So we're having that tonight, and it's quite hearty. I highly recommend. It's delicious. It's very delicious. There are recipes online, but so the fact is, it was like, everybody's got their own sort of signature recipe for, I don't know, let's say sweet potatoes at Thanksgiving, or everybody does their biscuits a certain way, or whatever. Everybody has a recipe. Well, that's how this was. Everybody sort of had their own recipe and their kind of family thing going on. Mine is off the internet. I haven't had this long enough to really have a recipe of my own. The only recipe that I have that's really my own recipe, well, okay, so the cookies, the Christmas cookies, but then I do make chili that is my own recipe. So those are the only two recipes that are like mine. There are some family ones that I really need to nail down. But I digress. We're getting into Stave 3 tonight. And how was everyone's week? How was everyone's week? That is, I think we've had this has been a fairly busy week for me. I have completed or nearly completed a bathroom renovation that I didn't really see coming, but we sort of got in there and did it. So it's put me behind on cookies, but I'm about to catch up. I've been smoking meat like wild. Yeah, you're a smoking meat guy now, and fun fact, Zach and I have the exact same pellet grill / smoker. It's a pellet grill, but it can smoke. It can go low, and so it's pretty good. I am. Did I stand up? Okay, I need to minimize this because can't watch that. Anyway, I'm distracting myself. So like, I'm here, and I see the delayed, like the real time here, and then there was a delay here, and it was really distracting. So anyway, smoking meat, yeah, we've got the same pellet grill now, and so we're gonna have to get together and compare recipes and talk smoked meat. So yes, what was I saying? Oh, the bathroom thing. So that's done. Catching up now, and we are back on track for the holidays. We got cookies to make and caramels to make, and it's gonna be a good week. Hey there, Chandler. We're gonna get you on here. That looks more like Chadler, but I'll know what it is. If a guy named Chadler shows up, we'll be in trouble, but it's okay. I feel like Chadler is like Mirror Universe Chandler, like a goatee and, Chadler. Hello, Chadler. Smoked mac and cheese. Oh, smoked mac and cheese is tasty. They have it at the Armory down in Ironton. Well, okay, so if the Chandler in our universe, you already have facial hair, so obviously Mirror Universe Chandler, aka Chadler, that makes sense. Clean shaven. Can't do the shorthand goatee, evil goatee. Oh, golly. So let's see. Everything's going. I think everything's going well here. All of this. Okay. Oh, hey, Aunt Patty. Aunt Patty's here. Everybody. Oh my gosh. By the way, while I have you, Aunt Patty, and I don't know if Pam is there, if Aunt Pam is there, but I did receive the cookies in the mail from the two of you. They are delicious. I'm trying not to eat all of them at once. But no, you guys, thank you so much. Cookies at the holidays, as you well know, are important to me. And so, thank you. They are fantastic, and they are well received. Hey, bro Chacho. How you doing, Spoopy? For those of you who don't know, about 7 o'clock on Thursdays, Spoopy and his wife, Spoopy Brew and his wife, Spoopy Percolator, are streaming, are gaming on Twitch. So I've been watching them for a few weeks. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. And so I leave their stream a little early during the holiday here to get over here and get ready for mine. But we've been having a lot of fun over there, and we're coming up with inside jokes and everything. The brochacho thing is kind of the catchphrase that's caught on, and it's been fun. You guys should check them out. Spoopy Brew over on Twitch if you're a Twitch person. If you're not, well, become one and go follow Spoopy Brew. I'm now a Spoopy Brew subscriber. I'm high class. I'm upper echelon. I'm top tier. I'm the upper crust. I'm the cream of the crop. So I'm a spooper. Is that what the fans are called? Are we going to go with spooper as the fans of Spoopy Brew? I think that's not bad. Spooper is pretty good. The cry, what was it? The cry, or did we say the Mile Cry Club is what it was? Yeah. Well, I forget what happened there. Oh yeah. I was like, my diamond membership to the, Spoopy Brew Club makes me, entitles me to, Cry Miles. Yeah. Because they are, okay, let me explain. They are streaming like horror games, like currently Tormented Souls 2. And so it's very scary. And so Cry Miles. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. I think I hadn't heard Spooper yet. I think maybe you did make it up. Yeah, I am a brochacho. I am, I'm not as ripped as the OG brochachos. They are two statues in the game, but what is this? What do you get as a top tier spooper? Well, yeah, you have to come over and find out. I'll give you one hint. I have access to super special stickers that in theory only non-subs can't get a hold of. I think but that's it. I'm not going to tell you anymore. I won't. But yes, we've been having fun with that. I need it. So here's what happens. I always get to this time of year and I'm, about Stave 3 and I'm like, this is so much fun. I have a good time. And I was like, I'm always like, I need to stream more. I need to get in and, do some stuff on Twitch and stream some games and things like that. And then like January rolls around and like I get past the holidays and sort of get into other stuff and I never think about it. And then it sort of falls. I need to try and do it. I need to do some more streaming, at least like, a week or every other week or whatever. Yeah, the stickers are funny. The stickers are really funny. I enjoy the brochacho sticker. It's pretty good, especially when I got to see the bigger version. It was good. Yeah, thank you. We'll just do a whole thing and we'll just have to figure out how we can do it. And you guys have a night to do it and I have a night and we got to figure it out. But it's cool. I'm having fun on Thursday nights at 7 watching you guys. It's a nice welcome, hang out, chill out. This is what I'm doing for a couple of hours kind of thing. So it's cool. which is kind of what this is over here, except only 5 weeks out of the year. And so, yeah. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Yeah, everybody's good. So the sticker, well, no, okay, and I think I should clarify. The stickers are in the chat, like not physical. Well, you know what though? I did make them some stickers. I made them a few stickers on my Cricut. And they were Hey Bro Chacho stickers. I don't think I have one here. I gave the rest to Spoopy and the Perk. They have them, and I have one stuck on my sticker wall over here, but you can't see it. It's so dark in here. I did make actual Hey Bro Chacho stickers. Okay. The stickers I'll have to. Going to be. Oh yeah. They were talking about next games tonight too, and I don't care what it is because like I'm just there. Okay, so I'll tell you my favorite part. My favorite part is it's not really the gameplay. It's not really. I mean, it's fun to watch. It's fine watching the game, but my favorite part is when something scary or sudden happens in the game, and then Spoopy Percolator will yell out Spoopy's name in the chat, and that's my favorite part. And I'm always like commenting on that. Resident RES. Wait, Res is that Resident Evil? Is that sure? Is that? Yeah, so we have a count. The counter is good. Was that Resident Evil? RES? Res 9? Is that short? I'm not hip with all the slang. Yeah, it's Resident Evil. Good. As I was telling them, I am not really a horror game fan. I don't like play the games, but I do enjoy watching people play the games. So it's kind of separating me from the action, and I can enjoy it, but I don't really like to play them because it just freaks me out. It's like it's too stressful. It's too stressful to play horror, but I can watch people play. And it so Resident Evil, I played the first Resident Evil for about 5 minutes, and I'm like, nope, this is it. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. So I'm not really a Resident Evil player. Leon is in. Oh, I remember Leon. Did anyone see the Resident Evil movie? The one with Mila Jovovich, 1999 or whenever that was. Oh, gosh, it's been forever. Resident Evil movie. The first movie came out in 2002. I was off by 3 years. But that first one was so good. I really liked that first movie. And it wasn't anything like the first game, really. But it was really good. Atmospheric and well shot. Lots of cool scenes. And wasn't it like... Didn't they get Marilyn Manson to do the soundtrack? And it was really good. But yes, I recommend that first one. I don't know anything about the other ones. I've seen like 2 or 3 of the other ones. But how many? Oh my gosh, how many are there? There's Biopunk Action Horror Film Series. How many are there? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's like 8. Oh no, that one hasn't come out yet. The 2026 reboot is happening. I didn't know that. Anyway, yeah. So long story short, go watch Spoopy and the Perk. I don't know if I said this last week, but that's like a morning radio show. It sounds like to me like Spoopy and the Perk. You're listening to Spoopy and the Perk. That's definitely, yeah. At least I know Mila's in a lot of them. Mila Jovovich is the Sigourney Weaver of the Resident Evil, she's like Sigourney Weaver is to Alien as Mila Jovovich is to Resident Evil. I feel like if you drop her, if you don't have her, you don't have the movie, you don't have the franchise. She's kind of the thing. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. You can buy the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge. Crossover between so a crossover between Spoopy and the Gru. Spoopy and the Gru. Groupie Perk. No, Spoopy and the Gru. My Twitch name is Pursued by Gru. Over there. Pursued by Gru. 80s, yes, 80s heartthrob Sigourney Weaver. Yeah, if I was streaming on Twitch, I would stream as Gru. That's my goal. Like I love that username. I wasn't even planning on streaming, but I thought of it and I had to grab it because it was way too. I needed it way too much because it's this double whammy reference. It's a Shakespeare reference and a vintage, old school retro gaming reference. And I can't remember the name of the play, but I'm going to look it up. It's Pursued by. It is. Hang on. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Pursued by Bear is actually a wine. That's hilarious. Exit Pursued by a Bear is a famous Shakespeare stage direction in the play The Winter's Tale, Act 3, Scene 3. But yeah, the stage direction is Exit Pursued by a Bear, and it's just kind of a famous stage direction. And much of Gru, yes, perfect. But Gru, the Gru comes from Zork. It comes from an Infocom game called Zork, and it was one of my first and favorite text interactive games from I think it came out in the late 70s, but I didn't play it until the early 80s. And so a Gru, like if you're without a light source in the dark, that's the famous little thing it says. It's dark, it's pitch black, you're likely to be eaten by a Gru. And so I put the both together and I was super happy. And I signed up for that name just because it was available. Oh, yeah. You know what? I have an alternate email address that includes that in it. It's slightly different, but the magic, Zizzy, the magic word. It's a magic word in the same games. I think is it Zizzy or Zizix? Hang on. Computing sometimes uses meta-syntactic variable of a video game seeker. Zizzy comes from the Colossal Cave. So that comes from, okay. That originally was from Colossal Cave, which was a Sierra thing. That was, Colossal Cave was Robin and, oh gosh. Robin Williams. Not Robin Williams. No. Hang on. Roberta. Robin Williams. No. Roberta Williams. Who she is, if you don't know who Roberta Williams is, you should. She is kind of the empress of early video game, like PC gaming. She did all the King's Quest stuff with Sierra Online. Well, Sierra and then Sierra Online. So Roberta Williams and her husband were programmers for Colossal Cave, for all the King's Quest, Space Quest, Black Cauldron, tons of early point and click, melded with like that text interactive stuff. So Roberta Williams. And they recently redid Colossal Cave, and I backed that. I have that. That is a graphical version. Still has a lot of it still feels like a Sierra game, though. Quest for the Quest. They did Leisure Suit Larry, too, which was funny. So many good games that they did. But my thought was, if I ever do game streaming, it'll be those old school point and click stuff. Like it would be going back and playing some of those old things. All right. How are we doing? It is 9:24. Cool. We'll get started here shortly. As I said, this is a long stave, so it'll probably lead us right up to 10:30. Anyway, so I want to get started right at 9:30 or very close to it. This little hot plate, this little thing that I ordered last year is just fantastic because it keeps your drink hot. Like you set it down and it turns this little thing on and it keeps your drink hot. The first 4 years that I did this, it was like I'd sit there with my cocoa would get cold, my negus would get cold. It was awful. And now now I don't have to worry. The last 2 years, I don't have to worry. My drink stays hot. Even for 45 minutes, it's just great the whole night. We're going to get into... I picked up an extra snack. I don't know if we're going to try this tonight or not. But I was at the dollar store earlier. And my friend Mike's not here. If he was, he would get a kick out of this. But we have this term we call man cookies. And the term man cookies has to do, like, it's these ginger snap cookies that you find at dollar stores and discount stores. And the brand is usually like Stouffer's or something like that. But they are super cheap, just nondescript, hard ginger snap cookies. And if you can get them on discount, it's even better. But we started calling them man cookies because my wife nor his wife like them at all. They think they're gross. But we love them. We love them in a way that is exclusive to us. And so we started calling them man cookies. And I found the same brand, but I found these iced gingerbread cookies that look like they're going to be special in a very cardboardy way. So I can't wait to try one of these. I'll probably crack into these later. But highly recommend the man cookies if you can find them. Ginger snaps in... here's the trifecta. Got to be at like a dollar or discount store. Got to be a brand like the Stouffer's. This isn't the same Stouffer's, I don't think. It might be. But it's got to be this kind of brand, like not like Oreo, nothing like that. And the third thing, if you can get them discounted at the discount store, like go to the Dollar Tree where they're like $3 and get them on sale for $1.50. That's the best. Highly recommend it. That's the vibe you want. Anyway, we might crack into these later. We'll see. So, let me see. I'm going to check stream health here. We're going to make sure everything's looking solid. We got, look at this. We got 11 folks concurrent and everything's going well. Okay. It's looking good. Stream health. Let's see. Stream health. Excellent. The stream is healthy, folks. Do you feel that? Do you feel that vigor? That's because the stream is healthy. So let's see. Where are we? 9:27. All right. You did have a cranberry juice. You can't put a price on urinary tract health. You know what I mean? You can't put a price on it. If you haven't got that, what have you got? For at least, I got you. See, that hit me after I see what you did there. Oh boy. I see what you did there. That's, yeah. Whew. Okay. Whew. It's a little toasty in here tonight. I'll tell you why, because I think the heat is working extra hard and I've got a candle going over here, not only for light on either side, but for the lovely scent. I'm a bit of a Bath and Body Works candle guy. So I'm there, all the sales and stuff. I was there on Candle Day with all the soccer moms. And I got this nice one called Rum Reindeer, which is deliciously, it just smells like you could drink it. But it's candle wax, so don't. But it smells real, it's like buttered rum. It's really nice. Anyway. So, we are approaching 9:30. I think I've got everybody who... Oh, wait, you know what? Hold on. Percolator showed up. And so Brew and Percolator are here. So I have to put you in the hat. Done. Don't want to miss that. Okay. So, is everybody ready? I'm feeling ready. I've got a little bit of water here in case the Negus gives out on me. Healthy stream. Oh my gosh. That got me so good. I didn't even see it. And then you said that and okay. I'll be fine. All right. We have a little bit of water too. So, we're about to get into Stave 3 here, which, as I said, is the longest. It is Ghost to Christmas Present and has some really fun stuff, really fun scenes in it. And I think we're ready to go. Yeah, let's go ahead. All right. Without any further ado, well, just a little bit of ado. No more ado. That's plenty of ado. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so as written in 1843, this is A Christmas Carol, Stave 3, the second of the three spirits. Waking in the middle of a prodigiously tough snore and sitting up in bed to get his thoughts together, Scrooge had no occasion to be told that the bell was again upon the stroke of 1. He felt that he was restored to consciousness in the right nick of time for the especial purpose of holding a conference with the second messenger dispatched to him through Jacob Marley's intervention. But finding that he turned uncomfortably cold when he began to wonder which of his curtains this new spectre would draw back, he put them every one aside with his own hands, and lying down again, established a sharp lookout all round the bed. For he wished to challenge the spirit on the moment of its appearance, and did not wish to be taken by surprise and made nervous. Gentlemen of the free and easy sort, who plume themselves on being acquainted with a move or two, and being usually equal to the time of day, express a wide range of their capacity for adventure by observing that they are good for anything from pitch and toss to manslaughter, between which opposite extremes, no doubt, there lies a tolerably wide and comprehensive range of subjects. Without venturing for Scrooge quite as heartily as this, I don't mind calling on you to believe that he was ready for a good broad field of strange appearances, and that nothing between a baby and a rhinoceros would have astonished him very much. Now, being prepared for almost anything, he was not by any means prepared for nothing, and consequently, when the bell struck 1 and no shape appeared, he was taken with a violent fit of trembling. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a quarter of an hour went by, yet nothing came. All this time he lay upon his bed, the very core and center of a blaze of ruddy light, which streamed upon it when the clock proclaimed the hour, and which, being only light, was more alarming than a dozen ghosts, as he was powerless to make out what it meant, or would be at, and was sometimes apprehensive that he might be at that very moment an interesting case of spontaneous combustion, without having the consolation of knowing it. At last, however, he began to think, as you or I would have thought at first, for it is always the person not in the predicament who knows what ought to have been done in it, and would unquestionably have done it too. At last, I say, he began to think that the source and secret of this ghostly light might be in the adjoining room, from whence, on further tracing it, it seemed to shine. This idea taking full possession of his mind, he got up softly and shuffled in his slippers to the door. The moment Scrooge's hand was on the lock, a strange voice called by his name and bade him enter. He obeyed. It was his own room. There was no doubt about that. But it had undergone a surprising transformation. The walls and ceiling were so hung with living green that it looked a perfect grove, from every part of which bright, gleaming berries glistened. The crisp leaves of holly, mistletoe, and ivy reflected back the light, as if so many little mirrors had been scattered there, and such a mighty blaze went roaring up the chimney as that dull petrification of a hearth had ever known in Scrooge's time, or Marley's, for many and many a winter season gone. Heaped up on the floor to form a kind of throne were turkeys, geese, game, poultry, brawn, great joints of meat, sucking pigs, long wreaths of sausages, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red-hot chestnuts, cherry-cheeked apples, juicy oranges, luscious pears, immense twelfth cakes, and seething bowls of punch that made the chamber dim with their delicious steam. In easy state upon this couch there sat a jolly giant, glorious to see, who bore a glowing torch in shape not unlike Plenty's horn, and held it up, high up, to shed its light on Scrooge as he came peeping round the door. "Come in!" exclaimed the ghost. "Come in and know me better, man." Scrooge entered timidly and hung his head before the spirit. He was not the dogged Scrooge he had been, and though the spirit's eyes were clear and kind, he did not like to meet them. "I am the ghost of Christmas present," said the spirit.
Look upon me."
Scrooge reverently did so. It was clothed in one simple green robe or mantle bordered with white fur. This garment hung so loosely on the figure that its capacious breast was bare, as if disdaining to be warded or concealed by any artifice. Its feet, observable beneath the ample folds of the garment, were also bare, and on its head it wore no other covering than a holly wreath, set here and there with shining icicles. Its dark brown curls were long and free as its genial face, its sparkling eye, its open hand, its cheery voice, its unconstrained demeanor, and its joyful air. Girded round its middle was an antique scabbard, but no sword was in it, and the ancient sheath was eaten up with rust.
"You have never seen the like of me before," exclaimed the spirit.
"Never," Scrooge made to answer to it.
"Have never walked forth with the younger members of my family, meaning, for I am very young, my elder brothers born in these later years?" pursued the phantom.
"I don't think I have," said Scrooge. "I'm afraid I have not. Have you had many brothers, spirit?"
"More than 1,800, said the ghost.
"A tremendous family to provide for," muttered Scrooge. The ghost of Christmas Present rose. "Spirit," said Scrooge submissively, "conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion, and I learnt a lesson which is working now. Tonight, if you have aught to teach me, let me profit by it."
"Touch my robe."
Scrooge did as he was told, and held it fast. Holly, mistletoe, red berries, ivy, turkeys, geese, game, poultry, brawn, meat, pigs, sausages, oysters, pies, puddings, fruit, and punch, all vanished instantly. So did the room, the fire, the ruddy glow, the hour of the night. And they stood in the city streets on Christmas morning, where, for the weather was severe, the people made a rough but brisk and not unpleasant kind of music in scraping the snow from the pavement in front of their dwellings, and from the tops of their houses, whence it was mad delight to the boys to see it come plumping down into the road below, and splitting into artificial little snowstorms. The house fronts looked black enough, and the windows blacker, contrasting with the smooth white sheet of snow upon the roofs, and with the dirtier snow upon the ground, which last deposit had been ploughed up in deep furrows by the heavy wheels of carts and wagons, furrows that crossed and recrossed each other hundreds of times, where the great streets branched off, and made intricate channels hard to trace in the thick yellow mud and icy water. The sky was gloomy, and the shortest streets were choked up with a dingy mist, half thawed, half frozen, whose heavier particles descended in a shower of sooty atoms, as if all the chimneys in Great Britain had by one consent caught fire, and were blazing away to their dear heart's content. There was nothing very cheerful in the climate or the town, and yet there was an air of cheerfulness abroad that the clearest summer air and brightest summer sun might have endeavored to diffuse in vain. For the people who were shoveling away on the housetops were jovial and full of glee, calling out to one another from the parapets, and now and then exchanging a facetious snowball, better-natured missile by far than many a wordy jest, laughing heartily if it went right, and not less heartily if it went wrong. The poulterers' shops were still half open, and the fruiterers were radiant in their glory. There were great round pot-bellied baskets of chestnuts, shaped like the waistcoats of jolly old gentlemen, lolling at the doors and tumbling out into the street in their apoplectic opulence. There were ruddy, brown-faced, broad-girthed Spanish onions shining in the fatness of their growth like Spanish friars, and winking from their shelves in wanton slyness at the girls as they went by, and glanced demurely at the hung-up mistletoe. There were pears and apples clustered high in blooming pyramids. There were bunches of grapes made in the shopkeeper's benevolence to dangle from conspicuous hooks, that people's mouths might water gratis as they passed. There were piles of filberts, mossy and brown, recalling in their fragrance an ancient walk among the woods, and pleasant shufflings ankle-deep through withered leaves. There were Norfolk biffins, squab and swarthy, setting off the yellow of the oranges and lemons, and in great compactness of their juicy persons, urgently entreating and beseeching to be carried home in paper bags and eaten after dinner. The very gold and silver fish set forth among these choice fruits in a bowl, though members of a dull and stagnant-blooded race, appeared to know that there was something going on, and, to a fish, went gasping round and round their little world in slow and passionless excitement.
The grocers. Oh, the grocers, nearly closed, with perhaps 2 shutters down, or 1, but through those gaps such glimpses. It was not alone that the scales descending on the counter made a merry sound, or the twine and roller parted company so briskly, or that the canisters were rattled up and down like juggling tricks, or even that the blended scents of tea and coffee were so grateful to the nose, or even that the raisins were so plentiful and rare, the almonds so extremely white, the sticks of cinnamon so long and straight, the other spices so delicious, the candied fruits so caked and spotted with molten sugar as to make the coldest lookers-on feel faint and subsequently bilious. Nor was it the figs, that the figs were moist and pulpy, or that the French plums blushed in modest tartness from their highly decorated boxes, or that everything was good to eat and in its Christmas dress. But the customers were all so hurried and so eager in the hopeful promise of the day that they tumbled up against each other at the door, crashing their wicker baskets wildly, and left their purchases upon the counter and came running back to fetch them, and committed hundreds of the like mistakes in the best humor possible, while the grocer and his people were so frank and fresh that the polished hearts with which they fastened their aprons behind might have been their own, worn outside for general inspection, and for Christmas daws to peck at if they chose. But soon the steeples called good people all to church and chapel, and away they came, flocking through the streets in their best clothes, and with their gayest faces, and at the same time there emerged from scores of by-streets, lanes, and nameless turnings innumerable people carrying their dinners to the bakers' shops. The sight of these poor revelers appeared to interest the spirit very much, for he stood with Scrooge behind him in a baker's doorway, and taking off the covers as their bearers passed, sprinkled incense on their dinners from his torch. And it was a very uncommon kind of torch, for once or twice there were angry words between some dinner carriers who had jostled each other. He shed a few drops of water on them from it, and their good humor was restored directly. For they said it was a shame to quarrel upon Christmas Day, and so it was, God love it, so it was. In time the bells ceased, and the bakers were shut up, and yet there was a genial shadowing forth of all these dinners and the progress of their cooking in the thawed blotch of wet above each baker's oven, where the pavement smoked as if the stones were cooking too. "Is there a particular flavor in what you sprinkle from your torch?" asked Scrooge. "There is. My own." "Would it apply to any kind of dinner on this day?" asked Scrooge. "To any kindly given, to a poor one most." "Why to a poor one most?" asked Scrooge. "Because it needs it most." "Spirit," said Scrooge, after a moment's thought, "I wonder you, of all the beings in the many worlds about us, should desire to cramp these people's opportunities of innocent enjoyment." "I?" cried the spirit. "You would deprive them of their means of dining every 7th day, often the only day on which they can be said to dine at all," said Scrooge. "Wouldn't you?" "I?" cried the spirit. "You seek to close these places on the 7th day," said Scrooge, "and it comes to the same thing." "I seek!" exclaimed the spirit. "Forgive me if I'm wrong. It has been done in your name, or at least in that of your family," said Scrooge. "There are some upon this earth of yours," returned the spirit, "who lay claim to know us, and who do their deeds of passion, pride, ill will, hatred, envy, bigotry, and selfishness in our name, who are as strange to us as all our kith and kin, as if they had never lived. Remember that, and charge their doings on themselves, not us." Scrooge promised that he would, and they went in, invisible, as they had been before, into the suburbs of the town. It was a remarkable quality of the ghost which Scrooge had observed at the baker's, that notwithstanding his gigantic size, he could accommodate himself to any place with ease, and that he stood beneath a low roof quite as gracefully and like a supernatural creature as it was possible he could have done in any lofty hall. And perhaps it was the pleasure the good spirit had in showing off this power of his, or else it was his own kind, generous, hearty nature, and his sympathy with all poor men, that led him straight to Scrooge's clerk's, for there he went, and took Scrooge with him, holding to his robe, and on the threshold of the door the spirit smiled and stopped to bless Bob Cratchit's dwelling with a sprinkling of its torch. Think of that! Bob had but 15 bob a week himself. He pocketed on Saturdays but 15 copies of his Christian name, and yet the ghost of Christmas present blessed his 4-room house. Then up rose Mrs. Cratchit, Cratchit's wife, dressed out but poorly in a twice-turned gown, but brave in ribbons, which are cheap and make a goodly show for sixpence. She had laid the cloth, assisted by Belinda Cratchit, second of her daughters, also brave in ribbons, while Master Peter Cratchit plunged a fork into the saucepan of potatoes, and getting the corners of his monstrous shirt-collar, Bob's private property, conferred upon his son and heir in honor of the day, into his mouth, rejoiced to find himself so gallantly attired, and yearned to show his linen in fashionable parks. And now the 2 smaller Cratchits, boy and girl, came tearing in, screaming that outside the baker's they had smelt the goose, and had known it for their own. And basking in luxurious thoughts of sage and onion, these young Cratchits danced about the table and exalted Master Peter Cratchit to the skies, while he, not proud, although his collars nearly choked him, blew the fire until the slow potatoes, bubbling up, knocked loudly at the saucepan lid to be let out and peeled. "What has ever got your precious father, then?" said Mrs. Cratchit, "and your brother, Tiny Tim? And Martha warn't as late last Christmas Day by half an hour." "Here's Martha, mother," said a girl, appearing as she spoke. "Here's Martha, mother," cried the 2 young Cratchits. "Hurrah, there's such a goose, Martha!" "Why, bless your heart alive, my dear, how late you are," said Mrs. Cratchit, kissing her a dozen times, and taking off her shawl and bonnet for her with officious zeal. "We'd a deal of work to finish up last night," replied the girl, "and I had to clear away this morning, mother." "Well, never mind, so long as you are come," said Mrs. Cratchit. "Sit you down before the fire, my dear, and have a warm, Lord bless you." "No, no, there's father coming," cried the 2 Cratchits, who were everywhere at once. "Hide, Martha, hide!" So Martha hid herself, and in came little Bob, the father, with at least 3 feet of comforter, exclusive of the fringe, hanging down before him, and his threadbare clothes darned up and brushed to look seasonable, and Tiny Tim upon his shoulder. Alas for Tiny Tim, he bore a little crutch and had his limbs supported by an iron frame. "Why, where's our Martha?" cried Bob Cratchit, looking around. "Not coming," said Miss Cratchit. "Not coming," said Bob, with a sudden declension in his high spirits, for he had been Tim's blood horse all the way from church and had come home rampant. "Not coming upon Christmas Day?" Martha didn't like to see him disappointed, if it were only in joke, so she came out prematurely from behind the closet door and ran into his arms, while the 2 young Cratchits hustled Tiny Tim and bore him off into the wash-house, that he might hear the pudding singing in the copper. And how did little Tim behave?" asked Mrs. Cratchit, when she had rallied Bob on his credulity, and Bob had hugged his daughter to his heart's content. "As good as gold," said Bob, "and better. Somehow he gets thoughtful sitting by himself so much, and thinks the strangest things you ever heard. He told me, coming home, that he hoped the people saw him in the church because he was a cripple, and it might be pleasant to them to remember upon Christmas Day who made lame beggars walk and blind men see." Bob's voice was tremulous when he told them this, and trembled more when he said that Tiny Tim was growing strong and hearty. His active little crutch was heard upon the floor, and back came Tiny Tim before another word was spoken, escorted by his brother and sister to his stool before the fire. And while Bob, turning up his cuffs, as if, poor fellow, they were capable of being made more shabby, compounded some hot mixture in a jug with gin and lemons, and stirred it round and put it on the hob to simmer. Master Peter and the 2 ubiquitous young Cratchits went to fetch the goose, with which they soon returned in high procession. Such a bustle ensued that you might have thought the goose the rarest of all birds, a feathered phenomenon, to which a black swan was a matter of course, and in truth it was something very like it in that house. Miss Cratchit made the gravy, ready beforehand in a little saucepan, hissing hot. Master Peter mashed the potatoes with incredible vigor. Miss Belinda sweetened up the applesauce. Martha dusted the hot plates. Bob took Tiny Tim beside him in a tiny corner at the table, and 2 young Cratchits set chairs for everybody, not forgetting themselves, and mounting guard upon their posts, crammed spoons into their mouths, lest they should shriek for goose before their turn came to be helped. At last the dishes were set on, and grace was said. It was succeeded by a breathless pause, as Mrs. Cratchit, looking slowly all along the carving knife, prepared to plunge it into the breast. But when she did, And when such a long-expected gush of stuffing issued forth, one murmur of delight arose all round the board. Even Tiny Tim, excited by the two young Cratchits, beat on the table with the handle of his knife and feebly cried, "Hurrah!" There never was such a goose. Bob said he didn't believe there ever was such a goose cooked. Its tenderness and flavor, size and cheapness were the themes of universal admiration. Eked out by the applesauce and mashed potatoes, it was a sufficient dinner for the whole family. Indeed, as Mrs. Cratchit said with great delight, surveying one small atom of a bone upon the dish, they hadn't ate it all at last. Yet every one had had enough, and the youngest Cratchits in particular were steeped in sage and onion to the eyebrows. But now, the plates being changed by Miss Belinda, Mrs. Cratchit left the room alone, too nervous to bear witnesses, to take the pudding up and bring it in. Suppose it should not be done enough. Suppose it should break in turning out. Suppose somebody should have got over the wall in the backyard and stolen it while they were merry with the goose, a supposition at which the two young Cratchits became livid. All sorts of horrors were supposed. Hallo! A great deal of steam! The pudding was out of the copper. A smell like a washing day. That was the cloth. A smell like an eating house and a pastry cook's next door to each other, with a laundress's next door to that. That was the pudding. In half a minute, Mrs. Cratchit entered, flushed but smiling proudly with the pudding, like a speckled cannonball, so hard and firm, blazing in half a quartern of ignited brandy and bedight with Christmas holly stuck into the top. "Oh, a wonderful pudding," Bob Cratchit said, and calmly, too, that it is regarded as the greatest success achieved by Mrs. Cratchit since their marriage. Mrs. Cratchit said that now the weight was off her mind, she would confess that she had had her doubts about the quantity of flour. Everybody had something to say about it, but nobody said or thought it was at all a small pudding for a large family. It would have been flat heresy to do so. Any Cratchit would have blushed to hint at such a thing. At last the dinner was all done. The cloth was cleared, the hearth swept, and the fire made up. The compound in the jug tasted and considered perfect. Apples and oranges were put on the table, and a shovel full of chestnuts on the fire. Then all the Cratchit family drew round the hearth in what Bob Cratchit called a circle, meaning half a one. And at Bob Cratchit's elbow stood the family display of glass, 2 tumblers, and a custard cup without a handle. These held the hot stuff from the jug, however, as well as golden goblets would have done. And Bob served it out with beaming looks while the chestnuts on the fire sputtered and cracked noisily. Then Bob proposed, "A Merry Christmas to us all, my dears. God bless us," which all the family re-echoed. "God bless us, every one," said Tiny Tim, the last of all. He sat very close to his father's side upon the little stool. Bob held his withered little hand in his, as if he loved the child and wished to keep him by his side, and dreaded that he might be taken from him. "Spirit," said Scrooge, with an interest he had never felt before, "tell me if Tiny Tim will live." "I see a vacant seat," replied the ghost, "in the poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die." "No, no," said Scrooge. "Oh, no, kind spirit, say he will be spared." "If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, none other of my race," returned the ghost, "will find him here. What then, if he be likely to die, he had better do it, and decrease the surplus population." Scrooge hung his head to hear his own words quoted by the spirit, and was overcome with penitence and grief. "Man," said the ghost, "if man you be in heart, not adamant, forbear that wicked cant until you have discovered what the surplus is, and where it is. Will you decide what men shall live, what men shall die? It may be that in the sight of heaven you are more worthless and less fit to live than millions like this poor man's child. O God, to hear the insect on the leaf pronouncing that too much life among his hungry brothers in the dust." Scrooge bent before the ghost's rebuke, and trembling cast his eyes upon the ground. But he raised them speedily on hearing his own name. "Mr. Scrooge," said Bob. "I'll give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast." "The founder of the feast, indeed!" cried Mrs. Cratchit, reddening. "I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, and I'd hope he'd have a good appetite for it." "My dear," said Bob, "the children! Christmas Day!" "It should be Christmas Day, I'm sure," said she, "on which one drinks the health of such an odious, stingy, hard, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he is, Robert. Nobody knows it better than you do, poor fellow." "My dear," was Bob's mild answer, "Christmas Day." "I'll drink to his health for your sake, and the day's," said Mrs. Cratchit, "not for his. Long life to him, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. He'll be very merry and very happy, I have no doubt." The children drank the toast after her, and it was the first of their proceedings which had no heartiness. Tiny Tim drank it last of all, but he didn't care twopence for it. Scrooge was the ogre of the family. The mention of his name cast a dark shadow on the party, which was not dispelled for full 5 minutes. After it had passed away, they were 10 times merrier than before, and the mere relief of Scrooge the baleful being done with. Bob Cratchit told them how he had a situation in his eye for Master Peter, which would bring in, if obtained, full 5 and 6 weekly. The 2 young Cratchits laughed tremendously at the idea of Peter being a man of business, and Peter himself looked thoughtfully at the fire from between his collars, as if he were deliberating what particular investments he should favor when he came into the receipt of that bewildering income. Martha, who was a poor apprentice at a milliner's, then told them what kind of work she had to do, and how many hours she worked at a stretch, and how she meant to lie abed tomorrow morning for a good long rest, tomorrow being a holiday she passed at home. Also how she had seen a countess and a lord some days ago, and how the lord was much about as tall as Peter, in which Peter pulled up his collar so high that you couldn't have seen his head if you had been there. All this time the chestnuts and jug went round and by they had a song about a lost child traveling in the snow from Tiny Tim, who had a plaintive little voice and sang it very well indeed. There was nothing of high mark in this. They were not a handsome family. They were not well dressed. Their shoes were far from being waterproof. Their clothes were scanty, and Peter might have known, and very likely did, the inside of a pawnbroker's. But they were happy, grateful, pleased with one another, and contented with the time, and when they faded, and looked happier yet in the bright sprinklings of the spirit's torch at parting, Scrooge had his eye upon them, and especially on Tiny Tim, until the last. By this time it was getting dark, and snowing pretty heavily, and as Scrooge and the spirit went along the streets, the brightness of the roaring fires in kitchens, parlors, and all sorts of rooms was wonderful. Here, the flickering of the blaze showed preparations for a cozy dinner, with hot plates baking through and through before the fire, and deep red curtains ready to be drawn to shut out the cold and darkness. There all the children of the house were running out into the snow to meet their married sisters, brothers, cousins, uncles, aunts, and to be the first to greet them. Here, again, were shadows on the window blinds of guests assembling, and there were groups of handsome girls, all hooded and fur-booted, and all chattering at once, tripping lightly off to some near neighbor's house, where woe upon the single man who saw them enter, artful witches, well they knew it, in a glow. But if you had judged them from the numbers of people on their way to friendly gatherings, you might have thought that no one was at home to give them welcome when they got there, instead of every house expecting company and piling up its fires half-chimney high. Blessings on it, how the ghost exulted! How it bared its breadth of breast, and opened its capacious palm, and floated on, outpouring with a generous hand its bright and harmless mirth on everything within its reach. The very lamplighter who ran on before, dotting the dusky streets with specks of light, and who was dressed to spend the evening somewhere, laughed out loudly as the spirit passed, though little kenned the lamplighter that he had any company but Christmas. And now, without a word of warning from the ghost, they stood upon a bleak and desert moor, where monstrous masses of rude stone were cast about, as though it were the burial place of giants, and water spread itself wheresoever it listed, or would have done so but for the frost that held it prisoner. And nothing grew but moss and furze and coarse rank grass. Down in the west, the setting sun had left a streak of fiery red, which glared upon the desolation for an instant like a sullen eye, and frowning lower, lower, lower yet, was lost in the thick gloom of darkest night. "What place is this?" asked Scrooge. "A place where miners live, who labor in the bowels of the earth," returned the spirit. "But they know me. See!" A light shone from the window of a hut. Swiftly they advanced toward it. Passing through the wall of mud and stone, they found a cheerful company assembled round a glowing fire. An old man and woman, with their children and their children's children, and another generation beyond that, all decked out gaily in their holiday attire. The old man, in a voice that seldom rose above a howling of the wind upon the barren waste, was singing them a Christmas song. It had been a very old song when he was a boy, and from time to time they all joined on in the chorus. So surely as they raised their voices, the old man got quite blithe and loud, and so surely as they stopped, his vigor sank again. The spirit did not tarry here, but bade Scrooge hold his robe, and passing on above the moor, sped whither? Not to sea, to sea. To Scrooge's horror, looking back, he saw the last of the land, a frightful range of rocks behind them. His ears were deafened by the thundering of water, as it rolled and roared and raged among the dreadful caverns it had worn, and fiercely tried to undermine the earth. Built upon a dismal reef of sunken rocks, some league or so from shore, on which the waters chafed and dashed, the wild year through, there stood a solitary lighthouse. Great heaps of seaweed clung to its base, and storm birds, born out of the wind, one might suppose, as seaweed of the water, rose and fell about it like the waves they skimmed. But even here, two men watched the light and made a fire that through the loophole in the thick stone wall shed out a ray of brightness on the awful sea. Joining their horny hands over the rough table at which they sat, they wished each other Merry Christmas in their can of grog. And one of them, the elder, too, with his face all damaged and scarred with hard weather, as the figurehead of an old ship might be, struck up a sturdy song that was like a gale in itself. Again the ghost sped on, above the black and heaving sea, on, until being far away, as he told Scrooge, from any shore, they lighted on a ship. They stood beside the helmsman at the wheel, look out in the bow, and the officers who had the watch, dark, ghostly figures in their several stations, but every man among them hummed a Christmas tune, or had a Christmas thought, or spoke below his breath to his companion of some bygone Christmas day, with homeward hopes belonging to it. And every man on board, waking or sleeping, good or bad, had a kinder word for another on that day than any other day of the year, and had shared to some extent in its festivities, and had remembered those he cared for at a distance, and had known that they delighted to remember him. It was a great surprise to Scrooge, while listening to the moaning of the wind and thinking what a solemn thing it was to move on through the lonely darkness over an unknown abyss, whose depths were secrets as profound as death. It was a great surprise to Scrooge, while thus engaged, to hear a hearty laugh. It was much greater surprise to Scrooge to recognize his own nephews, and to find himself in a bright, dry, gleaming room, with the spirit standing smiling by his side, and looking at the same nephew with approving affability. "Ha, ha!" laughed Scrooge's nephew. "Ha, ha, ha!" If you should happen, by any unlikely chance, to know a man more blessed in a laugh than Scrooge's nephew, all I can say is I should like to know him too. Introduce him to me, and I'll cultivate his acquaintance. It is a fair, even-handed, noble adjustment of things, that while there is infection and disease and sorrow, there is nothing in the world so irresistibly contagious as laughter and good humor. When Scrooge's nephew laughed in this way, holding his sides, rolling his head, and twisting his face into the most extravagant contortions, Scrooge's niece, by marriage, laughed as heartily as he, and their assembled friends, being not a bit behindhand, roared out lustily, "Ha, ha, 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 ha!" "He said that Christmas was a humbug, as I live," cried Scrooge's nephew. "He believed it, too." "More shame for him, Fred," said Scrooge's niece indignantly. "Bless those women, they never do anything by halves. They are always in earnest." She was very pretty, exceedingly pretty, with a dimpled, surprised-looking capital face, a ripe little mouth that seemed made to be kissed, and no doubt it was. All kinds of good little dots about her chin that melted into one another when she laughed, and the sunniest pair of eyes you ever saw in any little creature's head. Altogether, she was what you would have called provoking, you know, but satisfactory, too. Oh, perfectly satisfactory. "He's a comical old fellow," said Scrooge's nephew. "That's the truth, and not so pleasant as he might be. However, his offences carry their own punishment, and I have nothing to say against him." "I'm sure he's very rich, Fred," hinted Scrooge's niece. "At least you always tell me so." "What of that, my dear?" said Scrooge's nephew. His wealth is of no use to him. He don't do any good with it. He don't make himself comfortable with it. He hasn't the satisfaction of thinking, ha ha ha, that he is ever going to benefit us with it. I have no patience with him, observed Scrooge's niece. Scrooge's niece's sisters and all the other ladies expressed the same opinion. Oh, I have, said Scrooge's nephew. I am sorry for him. I couldn't be angry with him if I tried. Who suffers by his ill whims? Himself, always. Here he takes it into his head to dislike us and won't come and dine with us. What's the consequence? He don't lose much of a dinner. Indeed, I think he loses a very good dinner, interrupted Scrooge's niece. Everybody else said the same, and they must be allowed to have been competent judges, because they had just had dinner, and with the dessert upon the table were clustered round the fire by lamplight. Well, I'm very glad to hear it, said Scrooge's nephew, because I haven't great faith in these young housekeepers. What do you say, Topper? Topper had clearly got his eye on one of Scrooge's niece's sisters, for he answered that a bachelor was a wretched outcast who had no right to express an opinion on the subject. Whereat Scrooge's niece's sister, the plump one with the lace tucker, not the one with the roses, blushed. Do go on, Fred, said Scrooge's niece, clapping her hands. He never finishes what he begins to say. He is such a ridiculous fellow. Scrooge's nephew reveled in another laugh, and as it was impossible to keep the infection off, though the plump sister tried hard to do it with aromatic vinegar, his example was unanimously followed. I was only going to say, said Scrooge's nephew, that the consequence of his taking a dislike to us and not making merry with us is, as I think, that he loses some pleasant moments which could do him no harm. And I'm sure he loses pleasanter companions than he can find in his own thoughts, either in his mouldy old office or his dusty chambers. I mean to give him the same chance every year, whether he likes it or not, for I pity him. I may rail at Christmas till he dies, but he can't help thinking better of it. I defy him, if he finds me going there, in good temper, year after year, and saying, Uncle Scrooge, how are you? If it only puts him in the vein to leave his poor clerk £50, that's something, and I think I shook him yesterday. It was their turn to laugh now at the notion of his shaking Scrooge, but being thoroughly good-natured and not much caring what they laughed at, so that they laughed at any rate, he encouraged them in their merriment and passed the bottle joyously. After tea, they had some music, for they were a musical family and knew what they were about. When they sung a glee or catch, I can assure you. Especially Topper, who could growl away in the bass like a good one, and never swell in the large veins in his forehead, or get red in the face over it. Scrooge's niece played well upon the harp, and played among the other tunes a simple little air, a mere nothing. You might learn to whistle it in 2 minutes, which had been familiar to the child who fetched Scrooge from the boarding school, as he had been reminded by the ghost of Christmas past. When this strain of music sounded, all of the things that the ghost had shown him came upon his mind. He softened more and more, and thought that if he could have listened to it often, years ago, he might have cultivated the kindnesses of life for his own happiness with his own hands, without resorting to the sexton's spade that buried Jacob Marley. But they didn't devote the whole evening to music. After a while they played at forfeits, for it is good to be children sometimes, and never better than at Christmas, when its mighty founder was a child himself. Stop! There was the first game at Blind Man's Buff. Of course there was, and I no more believe Topper was really blind than I believe he had eyes in his boots. My opinion is that it was a done thing between him and Scrooge's nephew, and that the ghost of Christmas present knew it. The way he went after that plump sister in the lace tucker was an outrage on the credulity of human nature, knocking down the fire irons, tumbling over the chairs, bumping against the piano, smothering himself among the curtains. Wherever she went, there went he. He always knew where the plump sister was. He couldn't catch anybody else. If you had fallen up against him, as some often of them did, on purpose, he would have made a feint of endeavoring to seize you, which would have been an affront to your understanding, and would instantly have sidled off in the direction of the plump sister. She often cried out that it wasn't fair, and it really was not. But when at last he caught her, when, in spite of all her silken rustlings and her rapid flutterings past him, he got her into a corner whence there was no escape, then his conduct was the most execrable, for his pretending not to know her, his pretending that it was necessary to touch her head-dress, and further assure himself of her identity by pressing a certain ring upon her finger, and certain chain about her neck, was vile, monstrous. No doubt she told him her opinion of it, when, another blind man being in office, they were so very confidential together, behind the curtains. Scrooge's niece was not one of the blind man's buff party, but was made comfortable with a large chair and a footstool in a snug corner where the ghost and Scrooge were close behind her. But she joined in forfeits and loved her love to admiration with all the letters of the alphabet. Likewise, at the game of how, when, and where, she was very great, and to the secret joy of Scrooge's nephew, beat her sisters hollow, though they were sharp girls too, as Topper could have told you. There might have been 20 people there, young and old, but they all played, and so did Scrooge, for wholly forgetting the interest that he had in what was going on, that his voice made no sound in their ears, he sometimes came out with his guess quite loud, and very often guessed quite right too. For the sharpest needle, best Whitechapel, warranted not to cut in the eye, was not sharper than Scrooge, blunt as he took it in his head to be. The ghost was greatly pleased to find him in this mood, and looked upon him with such favor that he begged like a boy to be allowed to stay until the guests departed. But the spirit said this could not be done. "Here's a new game," said Scrooge. "1 half-hour, spirit, only one." It was a game called Yes and No, where Scrooge's nephew had to think of something, and the rest must find out, he only answering to their questions yes or no, as the case was. The brisk fire of questioning to which he was exposed elicited from him that he was thinking of an animal, a live animal, rather a disagreeable animal, a savage animal, an animal that growled and grunted sometimes, and talked sometimes, and lived in London, and walked about the streets, and wasn't made a show of, and wasn't led by anybody, and didn't live in a menagerie, and was never killed in a market, and was not a horse, or an ass, or a cow, or a bull, or a tiger, or a dog, or a pig, or a cat, or a bear. At every fresh question that was put to him, his nephew burst into a fresh roar of laughter, and was so inexpressibly tickled that he was obliged to get up off the sofa and stamp. At last, the plump sister, falling into a similar state, cried out, "I have found it out! I know what it is, Fred! I know what it is!" "What is it?" cried Fred. "It's your Uncle Scrooge!" Which it certainly was. Admiration was the universal sentiment, though some objected to the reply to "Is it a bear?" and ought to have been yes, inasmuch as an answer in the negative was sufficient to have diverted their thoughts from Mr. Scrooge, supposing they had ever any tendency that way. "He has given us plenty of merriment, I'm sure," said Fred, "and it would be ungrateful not to drink to his health. Here's a glass of mulled wine ready to our hand at the moment, and I say Uncle Scrooge." "Well, Uncle Scrooge," they cried. "A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to the old man, whatever he is," said Scrooge's nephew. "He wouldn't take it from me, but may he have it nevertheless. Uncle Scrooge." Uncle Scrooge had imperceptibly become so gay and light of heart that he would have pledged the unconscious company in return, and thanked them in an inaudible speech, if the ghost had given him time. But the whole scene passed off in the breath of the last words spoken by his nephew, and he and the spirit were again upon their travels. Much they saw, and far they went, and many homes they visited, but always with a happy end. The spirit stood beside sick beds, and they were cheerful, on foreign lands, and they were close at home, by struggling men, and they were patient in their greater hope, by poverty, and it was rich, in almshouse, hospital, jail, and misery's every refuge, where vain man in his little brief authority had not made fast the door and barred the spirit out, he left his blessing and taught Scrooge its precepts. It was a long night, if it were only a night, but Scrooge had his doubts of this, because the Christmas holidays appeared to be condensed into the space of time they had passed together. It was strange, too, while Scrooge remained unaltered in his outward form, the ghost grew older, clearly older. Scrooge had observed this change, but never spoke of it until they left a children's 12th night party, when, looking at the spirit as they stood together in an open place, he noticed that its hair was gray. "Are spirits' lives so short?" asked Scrooge. My life upon this globe is very brief, replied the ghost. It ends tonight. Tonight, cried Scrooge. Tonight at midnight. Hark, the time is drawing near. The chimes were ringing 11:15 at that moment. Forgive me if I'm not justified in what I ask, said Scrooge, looking intently at the spirit's robe, but I see something strange and not belonging to yourself protruding from your skirts. Is it a foot or a claw? It might be a claw, for the flesh there is upon it, was the spirit's sorrowful reply. Look here. From the foldings of its robe it brought 2 children, wretched, abject, frightful, hideous, miserable. They knelt down at its feet and clung upon the outside of its garment. "Oh, man, look here! Look! Look down here!" exclaimed the ghost. They were a boy and a girl, yellow, meager, ragged, scowling, wolfish, but prostrate too in their humility. There where graceful youth should have filled their features out and touched them with its freshest tints, a stale and shriveled hand like that of age had pinched and twisted them and pulled them into shreds. Where angels might have sat enthroned, devils lurked and glared out menacingly. No change, no degradation, no perversion of humanity in any grade, through all the mysteries of wonderful creation, has monsters half so horrible and dread. Scrooge started back, appalled. Having them shown to him in this way, he tried to say they were fine children, but the words choked themselves, rather than be parties to a lie of such enormous magnitude. "Spirit, are they yours?" Scrooge could say no more. "They are man's," said the spirit, looking down upon them, "and they cling to me, appealing from their fathers. This boy is ignorance, this girl is want. Beware them both, and of all their degree, but most of all beware this boy. For on his brow I see that written which is doom, unless the writing be erased. Deny it!" cried the spirit, stretching out his hand toward the city. "Slander those who tell it you. Admit it for your facetious purposes, and make it worse, and abide the end." "They have no refuge or resource?" cried Scrooge. "Are there no prisons?" said the spirit, turning on him for the last time with his own words. "Are there no workhouses?" The bell struck 12. Scrooge looked about him for the ghost and saw it not. As the last stroke ceased to vibrate, he remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley, and lifting up his eyes beheld a solemn phantom, draped and hooded, coming like a mist on the ground towards him. The end of Stave 3. Whew. A long one, folks. Whew. That's a pretty good, pretty intense one, I think. It's the one that I think has the most like dramatic changes of pace. It's really great. And I think and so it's hard to decide what my favorite ghost is. I like the past in terms of what happens. I like the present in terms of who the ghost is. He really is kind of this cool. It's almost like, I don't know. It's almost like I don't know. I can't describe it. But I like his bearing. You know. And actually, in one of my favorite adaptations of A Christmas Carol, A Muppet Christmas Carol, really amazing puppet. I don't know if you've seen it, but really amazing puppet. Like that whole thing. If you haven't seen it, you owe it to yourself to see it. Oh, yeah. The voice is recovering. Let's see. He who smelt the goose felt the goose. I don't know. I don't think it's how that saying goes. He who smelt the goose felt the goose. I have wanted to do a Christmas goose for a couple of years. I looked into it this year, but where I live, it is really hard to find. You can't find a local goose. I don't know if anybody raises them here. And I tried to look online, and ordering them frozen is like really expensive to be a goose, you know? It's weird. It's how you say it. He who smelt the goose felt the goose. He who dealt it felt it. I don't know. I said the best Christmas carols. Oh, yeah, and that's a Tom thing to say too. Tom is a big Muppet fan. I'm a big Muppet fan. I think it's a really great production. There's a local. Yeah, it's easy to find a local goose, but a local goose. This is a goose. But yes, no. Muppet Christmas Carol is amazing, and I saw some quote about it. Like, it's because. Oh shoot! Hold on, I want to see if I can find the quote real quick. Or maybe not the quote, but I won't go digging for it. Oh, hey, how you doing? I haven't seen you in forever. Nice to see you, Paul. What was the quote is something like, "A Muppet Christmas Carol works because Michael Caine treats the Muppets like real people." Right? Which is true. There's some truth to the magic of that. He treats them like real people. He treats them like other actors. And he said as much, I think. But that's what really sells Muppet Christmas Carol. But then the rest of that quote is, the reason Muppet Treasure Island works is because Tim Curry treats himself like one of the Muppets. And that's so accurate. It's really fantastic. He played it serious. Yes. Meanwhile, Tim Curry playing Muppet Treasure Island as one of the Muppets. Back in H-Town. Oh, yeah, cool. That's like back, like you're back here for good. Back from where were you, Nashville? Yes, he played it serious. Yes, Kyle, I remember that story as well. I do remember that story. Let me grab some. I gotta put McNeely back. I gotta put McNeely in the hat. If it's your first time you've listened, there's a drawing at the end to raffle off a facsimile copy of the first edition of the book. It's just that whole thing. So your name goes in the hat for comment, like for attending a night, and so I'm going to throw you in there. There we go. Been here for a year now. Okay, cool. Well, welcome back to a little bit late. Welcome back to Huntington. So let me see now. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to pull up trivia. Next week, when we've got a little time, I'm going to do the Jackbox thing. I've got it all installed, but we'll do that next week because tonight, not quite as much time. Next week we'll have quite a bit. And then night 5 will whatever, that's a super short read, and we'll do that stuff then. But I did. Hang on. If we can find something hard, instead of those easy gimme questions. No. These are like essay answers. This is too many. Okay. How about here? All right. How about this? That's too easy. This, I swear, Christmas trivia is always super easy. Like, it's hard to find real challenging stuff. Nope. 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 I'm getting there. These are okay. This is not one of the questions, but I'm going to ask you this so you can see the kind of stuff. This is all like super easy. The old man in the Christmas Story overestimated the value of a lamp shaped like a showgirl's leg because it came in a box labeled with what? Totally not Italian, cautionary F word. So it's like, I guess if you've never seen that movie, yeah. Yeah, see, Paul, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to go ahead and give it to you since you've missed it. I'm going to give you that. But yeah, so it's hard to find. I almost instead of writing your name on the ticket, I almost wrote fragile for Geely. Oh gosh. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna do. I wish I had some Christmas trivia of my own, but I don't really. Here's the thing. It says 50 hard Christmas quiz questions. Hard questions. Here we go. Let's see what this says. This doesn't even give me, it doesn't give me answers. Hold on, let me see if I can find answers. Are these down at the bottom, maybe? Hold on. Oh, here's some. Okay, here we go. Okay. Okay, this is interesting. I don't know. Okay. I found some. These look like they get a little bit more interesting. So I'm not sure about the truth of these. I'm going to read them as though they are true because I don't know. And the internet is the internet and you never know. But this looks fairly legit. So here we go. What is the name of the Christmas witch in Italy? What is the name of the Christmas witch in Italy? That's WITCH. Not the Christmas not the Christmas witches in Italy, but the Christmas witch in Italy. What is the witch's name? Witch. No, it is not. By the way, the negus is still warm. Befana. I'm gonna say okay, Rob. That is close enough. It might well be because, like I said, these might be true. I'm gonna give it to Rob. Because that is, I think, they're both spelled slightly different, but yes, that one's close. It's close enough. Rob, you're the victorious. You're victorious on that one. I have Belfana. There's an L in there, but Befana. It's Italian. I don't speak Italian. I did speak. That's a fun story. So I went to Italy. I went to Italy in about 2010. They are. Is it an African or a European partridge? But I went to Italy in 2010, and we, of course, didn't speak any Italian, but the Italians, by and large, were happy to engage in English things like that. And I gave it an effort where I could, but we were in this one restaurant one night, and everything was hard Italian. Like, they couldn't speak English. We couldn't speak Italian, but everybody was really jovial. Everybody was having a good time. We were enjoying ourselves. We were pointing at the menu. Everybody was very happy. Everybody was enjoying it. So no hard feelings. We were communicating without language, right? It was great. So the end of the night comes along, and I have looked up in my phrase book. I wanted to ask for the check in Italian. So I asked for the check, and it was like, if I recall, it was like il conto per favore, something like that. And I said this to the guy, and the guy's eyes lit up. He was so happy. He was so proud of me. I felt so appreciated as an American tourist it was like outside of Florence or something. But yes, he was so appreciative of just being able to speak a little bit of Italian, or at least trying to speak it poorly. But yeah, that's one of my favorite memories from that trip. There are others that I'll maybe tell another time. But anyway, that was a good one. Okay. Bafana. It might actually not have an L in it. This could just be wrong. Okay. Let's do. Okay. What Christmas song was first played? What was the first song? Wait. What Christmas song was the first song played in space? What Christmas song was the first song played in space? That's probably a guessing game. Just throwing them out there. Nope. Oh, Jingle Bells. Caitlin's got it. It is Jingle Bells. I don't know what the story is there, if they were like playing it from a satellite or if it was like some astronaut played it on a radio or something. I don't know. I'm not sure what the story is on that. But Caitlin is our winner there. I'm throwing your name in. We're going to get a pretty healthy collection of names before we're done. What time are we doing? It's 10:30. We get. Let's do one more. How many of these do I have? 105 questions. Okay. I'm going to find. Okay. Which day did good friends? That doesn't make any sense. Okay. Okay, here we go. This one's good. Last one. In which German city was the first Christmas market held? Which German city? I think I have citrus oils on my face from making the negus. Nope. Someone's going to nail it. Yes, Rob. You're on it, Rob. That's it. It is Dresden. I always. Oh, hey, Liz. I don't think you commented earlier. I didn't put you in, so there you are. It's too late to think. Yeah, it's getting there. But no, I always kind of chuckle to myself. I saw it as a meme at some point, but it was a 2-panel of like Hagrid from Harry Potter saying, "You're a wizard, Harry." And then the second panel is Harry Dresden from the Dresden Files TV show, just like looking at him. And it makes me laugh every time. It's just, anyway, it's not. It might be funny to you. It's hilarious to me. I laugh my head off. Because he's like, it's like, I don't know, he's all beat up or something, and he's just like, it's great. But anyway, if you haven't read or watched Dresden Files, it's pretty good books, pretty good movie, pretty good show. That was hard to get out. So anyway, we are at 10:32, and I generally try to wrap it up around 10:30, and so. Next week, same time, same place. It'll be 9:00 Thursday night. And I think just looking ahead here, the Stave 5, the last one, is Christmas Eve, which will be on Wednesday night at 9. And it'll be, it doesn't generally run super late. But if we play a game or something, we can still run it to 10:30 or whatever. But yeah, so next week is going to be Thursday, but then the final night is on Wednesday, Christmas Eve at 9:00. And I think that'll be good. When is Pizza Rice? Pizza Rice is next week. So make your pizza rice next week. I'll be making mine. They will be here on the street. Oh, wait. Oh my gosh. Hold on. We gotta see if these are any good. I almost forgot. You guys have to remind me of these things because I'm bad at it. But yes, Pizza Rice is next week. Okay, so let's have a look here. So I don't know if you can make it out. Hang on, let me see if I can angle it right. They're iced, sort of. That's not a lot of icing, but it's on there. It's like those cheap little iced animal crackers. You know what I'm talking about, in the pink bag. Smells a little gingerbready. Okay, we're going to find out if the super cheap dollar store gingerbread man cookies are going to be very crisp, very dense. Texture-wise, no faults at all. I A lot of flavor, honestly. But there is a touch of cardboard. Well-seasoned cardboard, but cardboard nonetheless. I 8 out of 10. Solid. If you go in with the right expectations, these are delicious. This would be good with coffee. So run to the Dollar Tree. Find yourself some of these iced gingerbread cookies for $3. If you can get them on clearance after the holidays, bonus points. Oh boy. But yes, next week is pizza rice. Make your pizza rice if we'll all get together and have our pizza rice. If you want to send me a picture, I'll try and throw it up in a slideshow. And you can do that on Facebook or you can do that wherever. So I guess that'll do it for this evening. And if you're in the area, watch the weather. It's supposed to get a little crazy tonight. But otherwise, be careful. Have a good rest of the evening. Have a good week. And we'll see you here next week at 9 and for Stave 4. And so without any further ado, and see, there was ado earlier, but this, we're not going to have any ado. Zero ado. But anyway, thank you all for coming very much. That brings us to the end of Christmas Carol Stave 4, Year 6. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you once upon a next time.